Dr. J, and welcome to Breakfast with Dr. J. So I just wonder how many people will come on this morning. It's a beautiful day outside. I had been on my run walk, so to speak. So welcome to Breakfast with Dr. J. Well, how's your week been? Mine's been terrific. Had a great week. And I must say the weather's been a little bit chillier, which I quite enjoy. But I'd like to see who comes on tonight or today, depending on where you are. Because I'm on the computer, if you just type something in the comments, I'll know you're there. I can't see your little thumbs up and love hearts unless I look on the phone. So Breakfast with Dr. J is a little different today. And I just want to wait for a few people to come on. So say good day, put it in comments, say hi. So I know who you are because I can't see you when you come on the computer. I don't know why it's changed that way. So all good to see. Hey Dee, how you going? Hope you had a good week. I'm glad you joined me this morning because we've got a big topic and I know that you'll actually appreciate it. So get your trusty pen out and we'll go for gold shortly. Well, as we get into stage 1, 2, and 3 of our recovery in Australia from the COVID, we need to start looking at a number of things. And there are 3 things in particular I'd like you to take note of today. The first thing is, are you ready to go back to doing the normal things or the new normal? Are you ready? The consequences are, if you're not ready, you'll be rusty. It's like anything. If we don't get out there and do what we do every day, we get a little bit, how can we say, out of flow. Flow is something important when it especially comes down to sales. And when we're just busy doing other things and learning new things, sometimes it becomes difficult to go back into flow, number 1. Number 2, are you ready to making sure that you're shortening your sales cycle so it makes it easy for people to buy? Interestingly enough, over the last, say, 3 to 4 months, I've been noticing there's been a lack of attention in the experience modality, which actually inspires people to buy. Everyone's concentrating on the offer, the marketing, and the close, where really the experience, which what creates the opportunity to move forward, is not being concentrated on at all. Now, it might be different in your business, but I've been seeing it all around the world because I work with businesses online all around the world, even though we still can't travel, still actually hearing what they're doing. And the third thing I want you to consider today, and I think it's quite important, is how much fear are we taking out of the sales process or the decision-making process before we ask for the money? It's a good question. So what I'd like to do to share with you this morning is how to make sure that we are ready to present our product and or service, which allows people to buy. Now, the first thing is we have to understand, and I want to make sure that we understand this is critical. There are 8 steps in the sales cycle. With the 8-step cycle, those cyclic steps have changed. They are changing in its modality. In other words, how do you prospect these days? That has changed. The swiftness in communications changed. We've got to make sure that we are talking to them almost immediately. The lag time has lost. It's gone. No more lag time. Initial contact has to be swift and needs to be pre-framed beforehand if possible. And now that we can go online incredibly quickly, from a telephone call to an online presentation without someone having to jump into a car and drive to your location for an initial consult for any description, is becoming more commonplace. That's called a phone switch. What experience are you creating? And then when you actually get down to the process of going through qualification, explanation, and demonstration, this is where the things are missing. So I want to cover some of the modalities that are critical for you to actually change what you're doing in your business and get ready for when we go back to business in the next week or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it may be. So get your trusty pen out. I'm going to go through some bits and pieces. Most sales are lost before they're even closed. I want you to write that down. Most sales are lost before you get to that close. And there's some skill sets that people just don't do anymore which are part of the bread and butter of creating the opportunity for decision. We are losing the sale before we get to the close. And then we get to the close and try to use a red brain modality to actually inspire that person to buy because it's cheap, because it's double, half, or whatever it may be. This is old school selling. It doesn't work anymore, but we go back to what we already know because we don't know what we don't know. So if we do this, especially now that we're coming back and everything is becoming a lot faster, you're going to find that everything has been online. People can go straight on, do a Zoom, ask for the money, go to the next step or whatever the case may be. That's been quite swift. We've been actually doing a lot of pivoting with some businesses and have had significant results, which they say, well, gee whiz, we don't have to do all that stuff before because we're having significant success in actually getting online quickly and doing a demonstration explanation. So my question to you is, how much practice are you doing on some of these skills? So write these down. How quick are you at responding? How quick? And when you get onto the telephone or when you actually are taking the call, how quickly are you having the ability to build some rapport, some, not a lot, to get permission to go to the next step? Small thing. Everyone talks about, oh, yes, build rapport, yeah. But do they do it? No. They don't do it, especially online. Are you looking in the camera or are you looking at your face talking? Simple thing that we did just the other day made massive difference. These are just little things here. Do you find a compelling argument? In other words, you get permission to find the truth. And the big rock here, are you different? It's not how good you are or how much you know, it's how different you are to your competitor. In other words, do you have your USP sorted out? And more importantly, is your experience, and this is a big word, put it in capital letters today, is your experience compelling to make sure that the person wants to buy? They want to move forward. It's not even a buy, it's a must have. I must experience, I must get involved. Is that experience compelling enough to make that decision, or the what's next? And this is the big rock for today. Have you done any work on your experience? It's a skill that's rarely trained, hardly ever inspected, and always expected to give a result. Now, if you're doing that, how can you even possibly get a result? Because if people don't inspect this, they can't expect it. So I'm going to give you some ideas here and for you to move forward with. The first thing is, you need to have a plan. Now, in our Sales Success Club, we've actually been talking about this for a while. In our Sales Authority Club, all our members have got this plan. It's your experience plan. The question to you, do you have an experience planned out? Do you know what's going to happen in the experience? Sure, you might do qualification and all that jazz, but what experience are you wanting your people to have, be it online, or be it in your business, or you're going to their home? What experience? You might say, a great experience. Well, what does that mean? The specificity of the experience is critical. This is a rock that no one talks about, and it's a skill set that we used to do many years ago incredibly well, has now been left as like, oh, that's what we do. What experience? So do you have a plan? So let's say the person comes in, you find compelling argument. In other words, you find out their qualification. What are you going to do to prove what you said is true? In other words, how are you presenting your USPs? Number one, do you have your USPs in a kit or in something to be at your fingertips to be able to show your USPs and have it written on this or on something, which makes it easy for the salesperson actually to remember to use the superlative of USP. In other words, the first, the only, the biggest, the smallest. Number two, how friendly is your presentation? Is it got a sickly smile? Would you just trying to pretend to be authentic? But what's the experience? Is there laughter? Depending on the product, obviously, or service. Authenticity is critical. Number 3, authenticity. How authentic are you? Is it a sale or is it actually a care factor? Do you really care? Now, how do you know that? Well, you've got to do this, guys. You've got to actually practice this. You've got to say, how are you friendly? How is it authentic? Give a presentation with authenticity, with the tonality, not a sales twang, not practiced, rarely inspected, and never trained. The next thing I want to make sure that you understand is, how are you proving you're an expert in your chit chat? You might tell them what they're going to get and how they're going to do it. Why should they believe you? Why should they believe you? Because you're a nice lady, you're a nice man. I'm sure you're very nice. But why should they believe you? Why? Because you work for the company? Give me a break. That's not going to work. We think that just being friendly is enough. It's not. We have to have things that's going to create that trust. We can only move at the speed of trust. Write that down. We want to create an experience which is compelling, and I've got to do business with you, and I need to come back and do more or take one home. They've got to trust what you say. What are you doing? Try to create that trust. Now, you might say they trust me because I've been in business for 20 years. Well, what does that mean? That means nothing. Prove what you said is true. Show some historical, write this down, prove historical communication has taken place with customers and results in the past. Now, this needs to be practiced. This is easy to talk about, harder to do. The next thing I want to make sure that you understand is, in your experience plan, what senses are you going to use? Now, for online, my goodness gracious, that's tough, isn't it? But make sure you look in the camera. Online, get them to look at some stuff. Get them to put a PowerPoint up there so they got an auditory and a visual cue. Online, we've been using this as an on and off screen modality. This works a treat to create 2 senses. Now, obviously, we can't get the smell happening online. We can get them to feel something, get them to feel excited. Write it down. How are you going to do that, though? It's easy to say, write it down, write it on your plan. How am I going to create that experience? Now, if they come in to see you, which they're going to do very soon, or you're going to see them, what are you going to do to access the senses? The sight, the hearing, the smell, your smell, the touch. What do you got to do? Write it down. Don't think it's going to happen automatically, because it doesn't. It doesn't happen automatically. If things aren't written down, it's not a plan. It's just a wish, and a wish sometimes come true, but rarely don't. So what senses are you going to work with? Next thing is, what will you do in that presentation to make sure you're proving what you said is true? What will you do? What are you going to do? You're going to show them a picture? You're going to take them a walk, get them to touch something? When did you last practice that so it becomes something that becomes genuine and not disgenuine and very salesy? Yeah, whoa, all these things, Dr. J. Rarely trained, never reviewed, and not practiced. The next one. Do you have wow in your presentation? They go, wow, I never knew that. Wow, that's amazing. Wow, this is incredible. Wow, that feels soft. Wow, that's real hot. Do you have wow? Or is it ordinary? It's not just your USPs, it's how different you administer your USPs. Difference. Being different. How are you different? USPs create difference, but how are you presenting it? Couple of last 2. As you progress through your explanation and demonstration, what needs to take place is, is this person an expert, and is there value? Remember, the pain of staying the same should be far greater than the pain of paying the money. How are you doing that? And the last thing is, confirm solution has been confirmed during your explanation, your demonstration, your tour, whatever you do, before you sit down to present the opportunity to buy. So let me recap those. Number 1 is making sure you have your USP. Number 2 is, what's the friendliness strategy? Number 3, authenticity. Now, authenticity can only come from knowing your product, and competence and confidence. That comes with practice. Next thing is expertise. How are you showing them you're an expert? In other words, do you show them something that they don't know? Okay, next one. What senses are you going to use? Smell, sight, hearing, touch. What senses? And write them down. And do you have a plan for that? Now, next one is what will you do? In other words, what will you get them to do? What are you going to do? And what are you going to prove? These are really important, and these are little things you can actually just write down right now and just write down the answer. Next thing is, how different are you? What wow do you have in your explanation or demonstration to create the experience that's compelling to take action? Because your prize presentation is not going to compel them. How are you going to create value is the next one. And what is your business? Is your business and is your product a solution? Always confirm that solution is there. Now, if you go through those 10 things, just write them down. That's just a simple plan. There's a process that we're going to be teaching in the Sales Authority Club. We've got our quarterly event coming up on next Friday. And because it's such a big rock, I truly believe that the end of the sale, the decision-making process is after you've done good qualifications, after you've done your explanation, demonstration, and or tour. I truly believe that. Because by the time we've created enough value and proof and authentic communication and an experience which is compelling, and I want to do business with you, as long as you have the correct sequencing in your price presentation, it should be a foregone conclusion. You would have pre-qualified if they can afford it already. So there's a process that we've actually created, which was updated a little while ago. It's called a process of showing them what to expect. We call it milestoning. Milestoning takes away the fear. Milestoning is taking a simple, you could have an S curve, you could have a line, you could have an arrow going up. A milestone gives them simple, generic processes along the way. This is a visual cue and an auditory cue. It's called milestoning. This allows you to talk about your USPs and how it will connect to a feeling. Milestoning is a really great way of taking away, I don't know what's going to happen. So you tell them what to expect. Then the next step is then you tell them, you do it. And then you tell them what you told them. So milestoning is the first thing. We use a model called A.E.E. Arouse, engage, enroll. Arouse by finding out a little bit about them and saying that you can fix it. Engage by making sure that you show them and prove and create an experience which is compelling to make sure they want to deal with you. And then enroll, well, that's the last part, which is just say, hey, let's get the paperwork done. It's only 2 to 3% of the sale. A.E.E. How arousing are you to get them engaged? Wow. Then you have them to enroll. The next thing is, once you've got your milestones and you've actually done all your A.E.E., the experience needs to be told in their words. This is something that's missed out a lot of the time, whether you're buying a house, while you're buying a gym membership, while you're getting financial planning. It doesn't matter what you do. You need to tailor the timeline, the journey process. We've created some updated models in recent times. And when we're doing our quarterly event, we're going to be showing our team members how to do that. It has to be tailored, guys, and it needs time frames. So it gives certainty to the people. See? Your explanation, your demonstration is a skill set that needs to be honed. The last thing here is making sure that you do this milestoning and journey before you go through and do your demo. Yeah. A lot of people go through, they do their dem, they do their tour, and that person is going, well, what's this all about? It's actually the unknown. It's actually upside down. You've got to do a milestoning and journey before you take them on a tour, explanation, demonstration, or a show around, whatever you call it, or an inspection. Why? Because you've now preempted what's going to happen. It takes away the fear, and then you can then recap it when you come home. Guys, this is critical, and this closes sales. Do this well, and they'll be excited because you've gone through those 10 steps. Another big mistake, that when we're doing our explanation, our demonstration, our tour, we always talk about what's going to happen. Big mistake. What we must do is always bring back their compelling argument. Why are you here? You said earlier this was a problem, a worry, a concern. Then you go through the process. You said earlier that it was been disappointing over the last 3 years, 6 years, whatever. Solution. You've got to say what they told you earlier when you're doing your explanation, demonstration, and or tour. We use a model called PFEB, which some of you would already know. Pain. In other words, agitator. Pain. Right? Feature. USP ideally. Feature. Benefit. Now, if you have a pain, the feature must fix the pain. So the benefit must be no more pain. So feature, feature, feature. Right? We've got to say, well, all right, that feature has got to make sure it's going to fix their pain. So we always start with their pain, feature, benefit, emotion, stop feeling, start feeling, and then you get agreement. That model is done twice throughout the presentation and increases closing percentages 50, 60, 70%. It's so easy to do, not done, not inspected. And people say they did it, but it's not done. Guys, I guarantee you, doing these simple things will increase your closing percentage significantly. Why? Because you've got a process. Trust the process. Make sure we're on track. Now, give us some thumbs up if you go, oh, if this is resonating with you. Hope you're taking some notes down, because I really want to make sure you take some action on this. Now, after you've gone through and recap their problem every time you're showing them some of the things you're doing, let me promise you, you just have to test the temperature that they have seen the solution and they're comfortable about using it. So after you've done your explanation, your demonstration, your tour, your show around, whatever you call it, you've got to confirm that everything that they're looking for to fix the problem, always fix the problem, the challenge, whatever you like to call it too. Got to make sure you confirm that before you sit down to give your price presentation or what's next, you confirm that they can see the uniqueness. They're really excited about working with you, the man or woman, or your business before you show them prices. And make sure that you can say, can you see a solution for your major problem because you had compelling argument? Not practiced, rarely trained, not inspected. I cannot stress this enough, guys. It's a simple protocol today. Is to make sure that we have an experience plan. You qualify well, I'm going to assume you can do that. We did it on our fun play role play on Thursday in the Sales Authority Club. Great session with the guys who are on fire. But now we need to make sure that, well, after I've qualified, how do I get the person engaged to want to buy my product or service? So if you're trying to sell them, forget it. It's not going to work. Trying to close a sale and so forth, it just doesn't work. You have to inspire with triggers to make sure the person wants to buy. Remember, you can only move at the speed of trust. So, do you have a plan like this? Have a little plan to make sure that you run through the 10 steps, which I showed you earlier. USPing, how friendly are you? Do you have an authenticity plan? Do you have expertise? Do you have, what sensors are you going to use? What are you going to do? What proof are you going to do? ×2 with proof, mind you. Last couple, how different are you? What wow are you going to put into place? Are you showing value? And have you confirmed solution? Wow, that's a little bit of training there, but it's easy to do. Then we use the model called milestoning. This is what's going to happen. Click, 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 click. Let me put it into your words and what we're going to do for you. Show them, prove it, confirm there's a solution. Boom. Price presentation, if it's sequenced properly, should be a piece of cake. Right. So that's one of some of the skills that are not inspected anymore because they're taken for granted. I guarantee you that if you take on board this little bit of feedback and inspect what experience you're creating, you're going to make sure that people will buy quite easily, effortlessly. But if you don't train it and don't inspect it and rarely practiced, then how can you expect to create a compelling reason to buy your product or service? So, what's your action plan for this morning? Hopefully it'll be to take some massive action and go inspect what you're doing in your tour, your explanation, your demonstration. Make some small adjustments. Maybe look at this again. If you'd like to join us on Friday, put a little comment down the bottom. I know some of you are already Sales Authority Club members, but for the Sales Success Club guys, if you'd like to join us, just let us know. We'll then send you a link. We're good to go. Starts at 10 o'clock and goes right through to 3:30 on Friday the 15th. So, the skills that costs us tons of sales is the explanation demonstration that we don't milestone. And then we present and then we go into prices far too early. Clean that up. People are going to say thank you and walk out with a smile. Okay, well, had a few people on this morning, which is great. Now, always open to questions. So if you've got a couple of questions, whack them in the comments. If you like what we talked about, give us some love or give us some thumbs, because it does come up on the phone, but doesn't come up on the computer. So just go to the comments. I'll see if a little scroll there. If anybody has asked any questions there. If you have, great. If you haven't, I'll wrap it up. But I know there's a little bit of a lag. Got a question? Doesn't have to be about what I've spoken about this morning, but if you've got a question or two, pop it in there and let me. I'm happy to answer any alternative questions. So if you've got any there, as I said, I'll let it lag for a little bit. If it doesn't pop up, I will say bye-bye. And forgot to have on a bit of a roll, so I've got to have my coffee. It is breakfast with Dr. J, isn't it? Let me just have my sip. As I say, keep saying it. Come around, I'll make a great cuppa. So if you've got any questions, good on you, D. You're always a doer, girl. We're designing a new sales process. Should we wait until after Friday's training? Yes. Look, put some things together. After we do it on Friday, you'll be some tools. Once I've received your rego, I'll be sending you some notes, a little packet of goodies. So take lots of notes and then start doing some stuff now, but it might change a little bit after we've done the training, because I'll be giving you lots of tools to work with. All right. Good question, D. Thanks. Make sure you're there with your popcorn. Make sure you're ideally in a place where you're not going to get interrupted from 10 o'clock to 3:30 Sydney time and Melbourne time. All right. All right, gang. Seems that you're all good to go. Have registered already? Yes, I saw that yesterday. Thanks, D. Oh, terrific. All right, gang. Well, hope you have a fantastic weekend. You get out a little bit, and the weather's really lovely. And let's kick some goals for the remainder of May. And let's make sure that we have a fantastic rest of the year. I'm sure it will be. All right, I'm Dr. J. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.